In this video, I will discuss what are the images and symbols used in Sister Carrie and their function. There are several groups of images in Sister Carrie that strike us as integral to the narrative. The imagery are related to the clothes, rocking chair, the newspaper, sea, animals, and dreams. These images have different sets of function in the narrative. In the 8th chapter of the novel, Teresa uses Minnie's dream as imagery. After Carrie leaves Minnie's, her sister has no idea where she has gone. As a lower class housewife, she also has no influence over her husband. In the circumstances, her own anxiety about her sister's plight is reflected in the dream that Minnie saw, in which both Minnie and Carrie are near an old coal mine. They are looking into the dark shadows of a deep pit. Carrie gets into an old basket which is hanging there, fastened by a worn rope. Minnie keeps shouting, "Carrie, Carrie," but Carrie disappears into the dark shadows. This dream comes at a point where her route has found a room for Carrie and he is about to reduce her to husbandhood. The dream is suggestive of fall and disintegration. However, in real life, Carrie does not face fragmentation and ruin as Minnie feared. Teresa uses the dream primarily to outline the conventional attitude towards women's attempt to venture out in the public world. It helps to establish the expectations against which the subsequent progress of Carrie through life will be shattered. Several critics have highlighted the significance of clothes in Dreser's narrative. Clothes in Dreser's are the chief means of display, of lifting a character above where he was and by that fact above someone else. Trout is a flashy dresser. Carrie is also impressed by his pink and white striped shirt and the cuff links set with agates, the Elkis insignia on his watch chain, his highly polished tan shoes, and his grey fedora hat. When Carrie is comfortably shifted in the house rented for her by Trout, Teresa comments that she had quite an array of clothing in the wardrobe, more than she had ever possessed before, and of very becoming designs. When Hertford calls on Trout and Carrie for the first time, he is exquisitely dressed. The most obvious and well-known recurring image in Sister Carrie is that of clothes. It functions as an index of taste and social position. The inner world of desire finds expression in the metaphor of clothes. If clothes capture the unreality of this inherently unstable world, the rocking chair corresponds to its arc-like rising and falling motion. Philip Gerber notes that throughout Sister Carrie, Teresa employs the rocking chair to symbolize the restlessness, the feverish activity which transports Carrie to no satisfying destination. At the outset, we also see Carrie sitting near the window in Minnie's flat in a rocking chair, thinking of her future plans. While living in New York in a modest flat with Hurstwood, Carrie still continues to rock in her chair, yearning for a better life. Hurstwood also uses rocking chair to mediate over his past days and exhausted funds and lack of strength. In the chair's slow and repeated motion, he finds an egotic dream of security. Jesus' recurring use of this image had something to do with his grasp of the larger social political movements on the macro level of history. Another set of images in Sister Carrie relate to the sea, which for Dreser symbolizes urban life itself. At the end of the first chapter, Carrie's situation is summarized as follows. She is alone away from home, rushing into a great sea of life and endeavor. A long figure in a tossing, thoughtless sea. When Carrie is unable to cope up with the turmoil of her life, Teresa writes that she felt the flow of the tide of effort and interest, felt her own helplessness without quite realizing the wisp on the tide that she was. The image of the ship is related to the sea. When Hurstwood suggests that Carrie leaves out, Carrie feels a wave of feeling sweep over her. Images of water are also scattered throughout the novel in many forms. The little shop girl was getting into deep water. She was letting her few supports float away from her. Right at the beginning of the chapter 30, the city of New York is also described as an ocean which was already full of whales and in which a small fish like Hurstwood cannot survive. William L. Phillips notes that incidental animal imagery also runs throughout the novel, although the animals specified are as often domestic as wild. When Carrie is anxious about the outset of winter, she is like the sparrow on the wire, the cat in the Broadway, the draw horse tugging his weary load. Mrs. Hurstwood is compared to a pythoness in humor when she turns to her husband angrily. When Hurstwood comes to New York, he feels like a common fish. Treaser compares human life to the exhausting life of animals that have to struggle and to assert themselves to survive. If there is one image that stands out in Treaser's portrayal of the city, it is that of the newspaper. As Hurstwood loses control on his life, he becomes obsessed with the newspaper. Initially, he looks for positions he can apply for, but gradually he immerses himself in the newspaper to escape from reality, and the newspaper becomes a inner mirror image of the city's diversity, variety, and plurality. Like the rocking chair and the newspaper, the theater also captures something essential about the new world that was beginning to emerge in America. As an actress, Carrie becomes someone else on the stage. Theater allows Carrie to become others without the burden of being herself. It is an escape into the world of fancy and fantasy. Theater is an image built around seduction and desire. The image of theater is an adequate image for realizing this worldview. Dreiser's success as a novelist lies in having brought this world into the realistic possibilities of the narrative.